Hey, yo, Outliers. Anthony Fleg is a physician, a healer, a poet, and a proudly out of the box force who spent his life doing the one thing modern medicine refuses to do, asking what's right with you instead of what's wrong. From Albuquerque to the rooms of resident physicians who call his work a breath of fresh air, he's building a strength based revolution inside a system obsessed with deficits and disease. And he's doing it without a mass audience, without a million followers, without even being on social media, because he knows the deepest transformation happens one honored human at a time. So, what happens when a healer decides it's not enough to treat patients, that the whole of medicine is his to change? Let's get into the room and find out. Hello there, Outliers. Niiamah Ashong here, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey here today. We have with us Anthony Fleg, who is someone who is an outlier on a mission. And we're going to be able to play today around what he's creating and how we can continue to move that up to higher and higher levels. Anthony, thank you so much for being here. And more importantly, thank you for showing up in the way that you do so that we could be connected and that you're like making your outlier impact. It's really an honor and a pleasure to be in space with you.
Honored to share this space with you, brother.
Nice, nice. Well, let's make sure outliers have get a chance to get to know you a bit here. I want to know more about you and the outlier game you're playing. So, do you mind letting us know more about that?
Yeah, so I'm coming to you live and direct from Albuquerque, New Mexico. We call it the 505, Porque as a slang for Albuquerque. Originally from East Coast, Baltimore is where I will always rep, but love New Mexico. And I'm a healer, a writer, a poet, a creative, and at the end of the day, I'm someone that wants to use the healing work that I do as a physician to uplift, to empower, to undo racism, colonialism, and then all the violent systems and isms that hold people back. And so that work has really naturally led me to be proudly out of the box, out of the closet, whatever you want to call it, strength based and in the sort of face of a medical system and healthcare system that I'm sure all of you have interacted with that really only cares about what's wrong with you, deficits, addictions, diseases. So that's me.
You know, Anthony, there's something you say here that strikes me when you introduce yourself as a healer, which you are, and yet there's also something else that I feel like that's about you, and I don't know what the right word is, but there's a part of me that gets that you're not only here to help people go from like a bad situation to stable or neutral, right? There's something about you that is also looking into how do we go from any situation to something that's really positive. Am I getting that right there? Let me check in and see.
Yeah, brother, you and I, it's almost like we've met before and
Mm,
and had this deep conversation. I here's a way that I say exactly what you I remix exactly what you just said,
yeah.
just to show you that we're on the same wavelength. And that is that every deficit is really a strength in disguise. So let me break that down for you just in a real sense. A homie of mine who does amazing work to pull young people out of gang life and does it effectively. And he terms himself, he's here in Albuquerque, a BTDT, been there, done that. So he never thought he'd make it to 18, gang involved, corrections involved, and all these low places, addictions, violence, gang life, all the stuff that led to him even joining a gang, you know, all that allows him to speak in a beautiful, powerful way to a 16-year-old who's caught up in it and has dropped out of school and is facing time. And so what the world might see as his sort of scars and his wounds are really what's allowing him to heal in a way that, the person who hasn't lived that life can't sit across the table from a 16-year-old and in any way have that pull. So our deficits are ultimately things that we draw on for strength. Another maybe just angle to that, this addiction program that I long ago was involved in my hometown of Baltimore, um, their term was you have to go through it to grow through it. You have to go through it, go through the mess, go through the drama, go through the addiction, the violence, the really low places in order to grow through it. And therefore, someone who might be looked down upon because of those same things, might not be able to vote, be able to fly in a plane, be able to get a job because of a criminal record, that wisdom is saying no, we should be honoring that that person actually has some depth to their journey, that someone who never went there, went to those low places, never lived on the streets, etc., just simply doesn't have that same ability to grow. And I think that's a beautiful way to turn the things that are seen outwardly as scars and things that people are embarrassed about or stigmatized for into, man, this should give us hope of like what this person with a little bit of good energy poured into them and some empowerment, like what this person could be. They could be the BTDT, been there, done that, who's doing effective work to bring their community into something better.
Anthony, I just want to like just take a breath in on that one. That really struck me. It really hit me home. There was a word you use honoring, and I think that like there's something to that word that I think opens up a whole lot of space here to like honor people's past, even if it's different than what you might think, or like or yeah, there's just something in that word that I might be carrying through with me as the day goes on. So I appreciate that. Nice, nice.
Let's carry it together, bro. That's
Yeah.
it's a big thing, and I think we even have to honor, um right, we always talk about honoring, like, accolades kind of things, but we have to honor the people's paths when we meet them, even at the store later today, like their path is their path, and a lot of it was probably not what they would have chosen if they could write the story themselves or write it over again. And a lot of what really, as we know, of where brothers and sisters, our relatives, fall into things that just aren't ultimately good for them. It's when you scope out, it's so much bigger than them. It's not like they really ultimately wanted that. It's just at that moment, that was probably the best choice for them. I find it really interesting when people are trying to come off of, as a physician, treat a lot of people dealing with opioids, and there's this term that like I keep using, to stay well. And to me as a physician, that's a really, like you, I'm a linguist, I'm a poet. So wow, that's interesting because a lot of people say I exercise to stay well, I pray to stay well, I eat five fruits and vegetables a day to stay well. But these brothers and sisters are communicating in that same language why it's so hard for them to stop using heroin or other opiates. I keep using to stay well, because if I don't use, I'm going to feel the opposite of well. I'm going to feel really unwell. And again, just you and I breathing into the life energy here, that like, yeah, we honor that. We don't negate that. We don't slap that person and say, look, what are you talking about? You're killing yourself. No, we honor that, like, okay, that's that's where you're at. That's your path. Thank you for sharing that with me. And let's talk about, you know, where the next chapter might be in your life, where it might look to. But I don't think, if we don't start with honoring where people are, where they've been, all the muck that they've come through, I think then it just feels like sort of a blame game, and it puts people immediately on the defensive. I don't think that's any longer healing work at that point.
There's a like I just have a lot of resonance with you, and I'm actually really appreciative this year because I think what I'm experiencing is like an expansion for me. There's things that I've done kind of subconsciously, I think is the way, or unconsciously, that maybe that's right, the unconsciously, and you've put a really nice like frame around this for me right now as I come into this conversation. So, outliers, let's take this in. Let's take this in. Let's bring in honor throughout the day, and honoring as a way of being, a way of life, as opposed to a task or a thing that you do. Like that's what I got about you, Anthony. Here is that like this carries on with you no matter where you are, no matter who the person is. It's like let's start from that place. And it like in my language as a coach, I might hear it's like, oh, it's to meet the person where they are. But I think it's different than just like, oh, I'm seeing you, or I'm meeting you exactly here. It's like who, like where you are is like it makes sense. It is great. And now let's see where we want to build off from there. So let's see here. Like Anthony, you say all these things, and I feel like you have like this larger movement underneath you. So would you mind sharing with me and Outliers, like what like the larger movement you stand for, and then we're going to move into like how we can help bring that out into life even bigger ways.
Well, first, I'm just gonna have some fun with you and ask the philosophical question. Like
Yeah.
akin to, does the tree in the forest make a sound when no one's there? I'm sort of bringing this up in jest, but I'm a guy who is proudly not on social media, and so as you say these beautiful things, and I do appreciate them and reflect them right back to you, because you're really just seeing a reflection of who you are at a soul level, and seeing that something that I am saying and doing and being resonates with what your mom and your grandma and your grandpa and your ancestors have asked you just to bring in your life. But it's interesting because I've had a lot of people tell me my reach, my brand could be X, Y, and Z a lot bigger, but in a social media world where you don't live in social media and just are explicitly not on social and are sending, a text to three people as opposed to posting to the whole world what you ate for breakfast. Yeah, it's I think something that I feel good about where I'm at, but I
Yeah.
do realize that I'm sort of in a different wavelength than potentially the outliers, probably prescription for mass um, uh, audience, because I'm I feel like I live life fully, and I don't really want I want to like these kind of conversations. I'm not as interested in growing the brand in a hey, I have this many followers on Twitter, on X, etc. kind of way.
Okay, great. Because I'm not going to help you with that. I promise you that. Like that does not sound like fun coming from you. I'm like, oh no. No, there's another thing here where I was just thinking as you were saying this, I was like, um, I stand by the word movement, and then to me, I don't think that is about a numbers thing. I think it's about like an impact thing, right? And so like you said, what I was getting here is I'm like a lot of people go out and they'll create the numbers or create the followers, so on and so forth, so that eventually 0.01% of those people take action on something, right? And that 0.01% of people might be a dozen people or like in the dozens overall, you know? And what I get about you, Anthony, is that like every week, like you can work with a dozen people directly in a real way, in a way that is like real and true, that comes from three text messages, like, at a time that day. Like there's a groundedness to this that at the end of the day, it's like you could go do all those things, but there's no need to because you're actually on the ground being of the word support was the word it was what I was going for at first, but I paused because I felt like it's bigger than that, bigger than the word support. But there's an on the groundness to you that's like cool. Like go ahead, do your thing up there. Like I'm actually just gonna text this person right here because like I can see that right now, like they are in need of some honoring right now. Let me just check in with you. How does that feel?
Yeah, no, I think that's my wavelength. I do blog, and um I love blogging. Blogged last week about Juneteenth, and sort of asking people to remember that we did end slavery. We never emancipated racism in this country. And to see 10 to 15 really heartfelt comments from the blog, that's good. That's
Yeah.
that's that 0.1%, like you're saying. And um, yeah, it could be a lot bigger, but it's the genuine. Maybe it goes back to a little bit of me being a doctor who just values when that door closes, that very sacred space, that I have 20 minutes where I can close out everything else, around, swirling around literally in that clinic, or what happened, that day in the world, and I can just sit with this person and try to feed them something that's nourishing. So yeah, you're right on.
So let's do this here. We know some of our boundaries that we have. for the conversation. And just like you did here, Anthony, if we go to some place, like, it's time for us to shift gears. Like I want to be in real, like deep support of you, right? And have the deeper level of the conversation, or the elevated level, whichever one it ends up being. But know that, like, just like you did here, like you're not like everyone else. Great. Keep making sure that we know and that we find things that work for you. Okay. So
Beautiful.
what we're gonna do now is, oh, before we do that, for let's see if this still works though, if this still makes sense here. There are gonna be some outliers who want to go deeper down the journey with you. Now, I know you're not on social media. I know you have a blog, and I know that you might text, but if there was an outlier who is hearing what you're saying, it's like, hey, Anthony, I would love to connect, to go deeper down here. I want to support the things that you're doing, so on and so forth. What's the best way for them to do that?
So in the 1800s, they use these things called carrier pigeons, and
Smoke signals. Just like, if you start a fire and just go out here, we'll get you.
all right. I'll give you an answer to that. So I blog at Writing to Heal. It's Writing to Heal, just spelled out the number one dot blogspot.com. And then I've started a small business, consulting business that I call Movement is Medicine. And as an ode to my hip hop sort of roots, it's Movement IZ Medicine, movementismedicine.com. My wife and I are sort of in that work together, doing outlier kind of work. So movementismedicine.com, spelled IZ, not IS. And email movement heals 2023 at Gmail. Movement heals HEALS 2023 at Gmail.
Okay, I'm glad. Yeah, I was like S or Z on that one. So cool. All right. So outliers, we have our charge, we have our quest. We know if we want to go deeper where that lives, right? We're now going to put all of you outliers over to the side. Anthony and I are going to have a conversation that's going to be really beneficial to him. You're welcome to be a fly on the wall on this here. Anthony, I said earlier, like, I don't want either of us to perform. What I get about you is that you're real and that we'll be here in a moment. So I think we'll be good here. But if anything comes up and we don't want to release it, we don't need to release the episode. I like I would like to make some agreements with you to show you to be like, here's how I'm going to show up. I'm going to hide nothing and hold nothing back. Are you good with that?
I'm good.
All right.
I'll promise the same.
All right. That makes me smile. Um, I'm here to serve you and not please you or platform you. Are you good with that?
Great with that.
Awesome. And then the third thing here is that, like, I have a series of life-changing conversations. You're a physician, so you know what life-changing is all about. Are you open for this being a positively life-changing conversation? I don't know how it's going to be, but are you open to it?
I'm excited and slightly intimidated, but in a good way.
That's how I feel, like, on this side here. It was a
Good.
group that I was a part of where the entry criteria was that every person should be a bit inspired by and a bit intimidated by each of them, right? And if we had that right level of mix, then we would have a really great group. That's what I'm feeling right now. All right.
Yep.
All right, Anthony. So I like to start off with, I put life changing on the table. So let's start off there. If this conversation was going to be a life changing one for you, where would we need to go in this conversation?
It's such a good question. I just want to give it a pause, a
Take your
sacred
time.
pause. If this conversation were life changing, it would. Um, I don't want to tie it to capitalist sort of things. So what I guess I'm going to say, because my mind was initially thinking it would allow me to quit my job in a year and do the work I'm really passionate about. But I think what I'm going to say is it would embolden me to pursue my vision, my outlier self, and to feel um, more confident in sort of leaving behind the comfortable, the status quo, the thing that is easy, and pushing myself to things that are not promised. And I like this sort of idea that's a thick versus a thin goal. Thin goals, like if you put in the work 100%, you're going to get that. You're going to get a paycheck. You're going to, get a bonus, whatever. Thick goals is like, by definition, there's a 50-50 chance you're going to fail. And so I guess what, as a way to answer your question as well, is it would be through all that emboldening, empowering, believing in myself, really believing myself, not just saying the words, but believing myself that I would choose the path of thick goals where I know going into it, there's a 50% chance or more that I'm going to fail in this journey, adventure, etc.
If you're a leader with a track record of success and there's a vision you're ready to bring to life that feels outrageous right now, I have an invitation for you. Outliers Edge is a world for different minded, like hearted leaders who are owning what makes them different to make a world of difference. And at the center of that world is a weekly coaching room where we bring the visions that just won't leave us alone. We get coached, stay accountable, and build alongside others, creating something different. If you're pursuing something that's too big, too early, or too improbable for most rooms, this is your room. Go to outliersedge.com/world and come in as my guest. Okay, this feels good. This feels really good. You talk about thick goals, thin goals. It's the first time I've heard of it, so I want to play with that a little bit more. But you also talked about like really believing in yourself. Like just help me see this out here. If we like left this conversation and then you and I were talking, we'll keep talking, we'll keep growing our relationship together. But in like 3 years, you and I are talking. Let's say it, so it'll be 2029 at that point, right? Just before 4th of July of 2029, you'd have written another three more Juneteenth blog posts, so on and so forth, right? And you and I were talking, and you were referring back to this conversation, and you're like, "Hey, you remember back when we first met?" And I was talking about I wanted to believe in myself, not just believe in myself, but like really believe in myself. Tell me about like what would be happening in 3 years' time if that was already true.
So in 3 years, I would be um, strategically creating ways to bring this concept and practice of honoring and strength-based work into the field of medicine. I'd be doing it through a variety of I envision people signing up, taking a plunge with me, like I'm sort of taking a plunge with you, and saying, for 6 months, I'm going to become sort of a student of this very different way of practicing medicine, teaching medicine, and just larger healthcare, and really bring those people along to then be, transformative leaders themselves. So I think the fruit wouldn't be like, I wouldn't say, bro, I did X number of, high level lectures, Y number of TED Talks this year. I did Z number of, uh, prestigious colleges, Ivy League keynotes or graduation speech. I think it would be really, I'd say, bro, let me tell you the 23 people that are now being outliers. I'm calling myself into this circle right here
Yeah.
beautifully. But
Yeah.
I'd be really wanting to tell you about the people who are then doing the work, because I think what I've done to this point has been good work, but I don't know that it's transformative, because I don't think it's had the strategy. It's sort of like 60 minutes with a guy who thinks really differently and has obliterated the box altogether. But I don't know that 60 minutes without some follow up and some strategy behind it changes systems or people.
Nice, nice. This is like it's simple, not necessarily easy, but it's simple. Like what I get from you here is like there could be a whole lot of things happening on the surface. That's great. But like where it really comes down to is like, do you have that like 25 people like who have become like acolytes and like are actually out in the world continuing to perform in the ways are you building it feels like a program, some kind of journey with them where they not just get like the one-off experience, but there's an immersion, and that immersion is not like a teaching immersion. It feels like the word acolyte comes to mind, where it's like they're out in the world doing things, as a result of this. And over 6 months, they're with you, they're learning, they're deepening, they're getting a chance to continue to honor themselves and others, and like actually changing the way that they're showing up in the profession and beyond. Let me just see if I'm on the same page with you on that. It does not sound like a course. I'll tell you, it does not sound like a course. It does not sound like a mastermind. It sounds like something much deeper at play. So I just want to make sure I'm hearing it.
Yeah. Ashay. No, that's it, bro. That's it.
Okay. Okay. So like for me, like I like to model the future in the present. So that's what's going on. Or I say model the future now. And so like what's going through my mind is the the first level of this year being like, all right, how do we give you evidence of this as soon as possible? Right? Whether it's 25 or whether it's one, like what are the things that we need to do to help like bring that future into this moment, right? That's what's going on through my mind right here. And so uh it seems to me that if I'm hearing you right, you've already engaged in conversations. You've had you've had something going on with people so far. You've like talked to them for 60 minutes or whatever it is. This is not something that you've just been dreaming up. Like it just hasn't what's missing is the continuation. Is that what's missing right now? Like what's help fill in the gap.
Yeah. I think continuation for about 2 decades, I helped sort of create a nonprofit, and a lot of this we called it community asset mapping was is a
Okay.
term that some of your listeners will probably know.
Yeah.
Again, not deficit mapping, not telling
Mhm.
poor and brown and marginalized communities how bad they are and how horrible things are, but really asset mapping. What are the strengths in those? And so that work I've done, and I'm very proud of it. But I think I was willing to let sort of for the greater good. It was really, well, our nonprofit is doing this work, and so now as I've sort of released that baby, and others are caring for the 20-year-old nonprofit, now I can really start to do the work in a way that's a little more. You're getting Anthony's vision and heart, and and sort of not put it as like, I was very careful in a lot of ways. If you had looked 5 years ago, you wouldn't have seen my name on anything like around our nonprofit doing that asset mapping work. It just would have been more, no, this is the nonprofit's work to do. And so now, um yes, structure and really strategy toward getting to that end goal of people that you've sort of built enough into, that it's more than just, wow, that's interesting and exciting. It's more like this is actually changing how I show up as a teacher, as a healer, and ultimately, changing systems to be, because I think the deficit work really covertly furthers racism, colonization, and disempowerment of people of color and other marginalized people. So I'm sort of using this as a way to get people in, and then sort of help them see where, the fact that we don't ask this person who's clearly, through their accent, coming from a different culture, like we don't ask or honor at all where is life taking them to be right here in this clinic right now. That is sort of an act of, I'd almost say, violence, in the way that we're not even interested or curious about this person's journey, and we might even be a little bit intimidated because it's something that we haven't lived, and we don't know where it's going to go if I start to ask. So sorry for that ramble, but
No.
yes, I need some strategy.
Yeah, no, like there's an element here around like a no rambles that like that I'm very good with it. Like I want you to unpack one, two. I wonder if you need strategy and if it's not something else. Like if it's I need energy, I need some courage with this. You've already
Mm,
built a 20-year nonprofit to the point where you can like you were totally not you're behind the scenes. Like so the nonprofit itself was able to work without you, right? And so when it comes to the strategy side of things, I'm listening, but I'm wondering if that's it. My question is this, right?
and actually, real quick,
Yeah,
because we're being real with each other, I think you're don't question yourself. You're right
yeah,
on. It is those other things too, and it may
yeah,
be those things more than the strategy.
yeah. We'll get like this. I have a feeling that once the once we get past this part, the strategy is gonna just fall into play, right? And I actually don't think it's all that complicated. It's the other part about this here. Like, it's not, it doesn't really try to do anything complex. So what's going on in my mind, the question I keep, I'm like, so why doesn't this already exist? And then the other question is like, how could, like, if we were going to get rid of all the strategy and just do it like, almost like with like the beginner's mind, like beginner's luck, like, all that stuff go into it. Like, what would it look like to just get this off the ground in the next week? And it doesn't have to be like the full 6 months. It might be like, hey, actually, it's me going like getting one like hospital unit on board to have me come in and work with a cohort of like these physicians, or it's I'm going to bring my friends in, and we're going to start with them, and get 3 or 4 conversations going and make sure they're enrolled in something. I'm just trying to see like what's the jump start of this that because 20, like for you, 23 doesn't seem like that much, because of the way that you have, like, I can tell you make really deep, meaningful connections. And so I want to just check in with that overall.
I'm going to give you like a sort of first concrete answer. So, brother, I appreciate the deep questioning throughout all this. I am very sure that this is not going to be a one-time conversation, you and I, and included with all the Outliers listeners. I am very excited. Don't hold me to be some like old school hermit. I love people.
Oh,
I
this
just
is
love one-on-one interactions and
oh yeah.
meaningful. So I've coined a term in my mind that I haven't really shared this with anyone before this, but it's the Strength-Based Medicine Institute.
Mm.
And I'm sort of thinking about these think tanks that people really value and come to for very specific new ways of thinking and doing that, in academia, in medicine, in healthcare, in politics, sort of exist. So the Strength-Based Medicine Institute, um, may ultimately be something that I actually am sort of pitching to base it in a university, because there might be strategically more sort of buy-in if it was, a university that houses it, and then there's also potentially, a university getting behind it. But that's a concrete for me, that it's really calling it something that in the name says, hey, we believe in what we're doing, and this is not a 60-minute one time we're going to inspire you, but sort of leave you hanging and go put you back into the pool where no one speaks that way and thinks that way. Strength-Based Medicine Institute. And so I guess I am birthing it by saying it out loud. It's sort of
Mhm.
just been in my mind as something that would take 20 plus years of doing the work, practicing it, talking about it, teaching about it in some decently high profile kind of ways, and just very consistent. Like every month, I'm 3 or 4 times in some way reaching high school students, physicians, and a variety of other people through sort of what I am bringing. But the Strength-Based Medicine Institute.
Right. Firstly, thank you for just naming it and declaring it and being in this space. Like like when you said it, I wrote it down. And there were 2 things that I really loved about it. Do you mind if I share it?
Please.
Okay. One is like the fact that you can't hide with it. Strength-based medicine. It's not like, I don't know, some random assortment of letters that haven't been, the domain exists. You know what I mean? Like this is like we know what it is before we walk into the room, right? So the strength-based medicine part. And the other thing that really caught me was the institute part. And I heard that, and I was thinking about that. I'm like, oh, because I can understand you're really thoughtful and you've chosen your words specifically. So like, it's not academy, it's not university either. Like, it's an institute, right? This is and so what are the distinctions that come to mind when I think about an institute? I'm like, well, he's building an institution, right? So there's that component. He's looking at things and trying to change an entire system, or systems are like the institution is going to have a better chance of like being there and modifying a system than some of these other words that could be done there, right? And it also speaks to the longevity of what it is that you're talking about, right? So an institute is here for generations. An institute, like it's not something that is like it comes and it goes, or this is something that is to be established and to continue flourishing far beyond you. And you've already given evidence of you doing this for the 20 years with the nonprofit, so you know how to do that. Like so, like the institute itself is gonna like. There's just a lot of things in there, just from those four words, where I'm like, makes not only does it make perfect sense, but I believe it. I'm like, yep, got it. And you're not even giving yourself any room to hide. You're like, this is what it is. So I'll pause there. What's coming to you when I say that?
Since you promised earlier not to say things just to please me, I take that as um, a deeper level, really commentary and remixing. I agree with you. An institute, has a real sense of like, no, we're putting up, even if it's not brick and mortar walls, we're putting up something that is really a legacy project. It's something that is different than just maybe whispering to the world, hey, I don't buy into the way we're doing things as is. And therein I think, while I'm more and more convinced in this conversation that strategy is definitely not the only thing I'm lacking. I think it's the creating the space for these things to happen. And as you know, just in life, that in itself is a challenge. And the one you just named earlier as well, just the belief in, like, I'm ready to, I use the term out of the closet because it is really coming out of the closet and saying, I I'm not who sort of you think I am as a physician. Now, interestingly, I bet you 8 out of 10 physicians that you would go to would not agree with you, and they'd say, "What in the heck is that talking about?" Like and I actually think that's a good. I think that's a good thing. I think they would be so confused. Like, does he mean like bodybuilding strength? Like they really wouldn't have. They're so steeped and cultured into. No, what we do is we tell people what's wrong with them, and then we do our best to fix those things that are wrong with them. We never ask what's right with people. We don't ask what's right with you. What are you doing that you're proud of for your health, etc. So I just throw that out to you that I think you can hear it in a way it speaks to you, and I don't think it necessarily would speak to the average physician because they would just be sort of confused.
Yeah, well, no, this is not average edge, right? I like there's a thing about this here that speaks to that which is different, and I think that there's a like you can't change like I don't know, like when I hear this, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Otherwise it would be like this would already be going on and you would be putting your energies towards something else, right? I'm not really even like concerned about the 8 out of 10. Like when you said the 8 out of 10, what the real thought in my mind that came to, it was like, I was like, oh, this is really fun because in a generation from now, like that might become 7 out of 10 or 6 out of 10 because like Anthony came out there with it, right? And there's still 2 out of 10 people right now, 1 out of 5 that is like, it's like that's 20% of the people out there that are like, yeah, no, I think that there's a different way of doing this. Whether they subscribe to strength based or something else, they know that something's off with the way that people are currently approaching medicine, right? And a lot of times I find like people being like, all right, well, I know something's off. Like I would love to at least go from this deficit model to something else. And if you're the one that's providing them an alternative, then like we'll start with the 2 out of 10 and just do the work of demonstrating that it actually leads to better outcomes than what we've been doing traditionally. And that might take some time, but like you're not alone in this. So like yeah, you like I don't know. I get it. There's 80% when they see it that way, but like I'm not really focused on them. This is not for them. This is for the people who are like, thank you. I've been waiting for someone to come and do this. I don't have the time. I don't have the thing. Whatever it is, I'm so glad that you're behind it.
Yep. Well said. Well, well said. And there's obviously more outliers out there in the world than are willing because it's not safe for them to come out and say that's who I want to be. I want to hang with these kind of people. But you're right, they're there, and the 1 out of 5 is the power that when you talk of like how to start, you're gonna miss the 4 out of 5, and you're gonna get a few of the 1 out of 5s in a room together and say, let's do something beautiful together.
That's
Let's
like
go.
that's what I like. That's what I feel like you're leading into, and this is the fun part here. It's like you talked earlier, like I don't do mass this, mass that. Well, the masses are like the 8 out of 10. They're the people who have been like trained to think a certain way, like want to do things conventionally or don't want to take on risk. It's not something that like we're like this is not a mass like it's not a masses thing at this point. Right. This is for the
Yeah.
1 out of 5. If you're familiar with the diffusion of innovation, like it's just a simple bell curve where they're like 4% of the people out there are innovators. The next what is it, 12 to 13% of them are early adopters. Like you're in that world right now, right? Like let's get the early adopters, let's get the innovators, let's get the people who are change makers and who are looking to do something different and work with them first. There may be some that like and do that work. And then there may be a time where we then go and say, okay, now how do we bring this out to a larger majority? And you, Anthony, might be directly involved in that, or it might be another generation where you're like, hey, it's been 20 years. Like we got this thing established, we got this thing here. This thing should go mass. I'm not the guy that wants to do that. Like I want to make sure that you be in a different position to go about it. But right now, I feel like you're working with your version of outliers. You're working with like that first 20% of people who are like, I'm raising my hand and saying it's got to be better than what we're doing right now. Anthony, like if you have a solution, like I'm down. I'm down to explore.
Just did a workshop on this topic yesterday with a
Mm.
group of um, they're called resident physicians. So once you get done med school, you still have some more years to put
You
in. And
have
and
more, yeah.
the word that one of them used was, this is a breath of fresh air.
Hmm.
I've been waiting for this. Why didn't my medical education talk about things this way, think about things this way? A breath of fresh air. And um, coming at all, you touched on it earlier. Definitely great place for some real sort of pilots, so to speak, of showing. But one of the big things is not even just going to be, do people feel they're more heard and seen. It's actually going to be things like just physician burnout,
Yeah.
because it's a group that I think this is a breath of fresh air, and in a way that is really healing to them, even though they think they're just getting it to do a better job healing others.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, like this, like what I like, and this is not me pleasing you. This is just me like reflecting back something real. Like this is not. I get that what could be done if you wanted it to be like I don't know to be standard like what people do. Like what I understand about this and what I get about you is that there's a level of depth, a huge level of depth that's gone into this. Like I almost describe it sometimes as like I'm like no, like this is the core. Like everything from the core makes sense. Like everything ties back. It's a fundamental truth to you is what it feels like. And so it's like and when that happens, my experience of it, this is what I think I'm getting from you. My experience is like it solves so many different problems. It solves 99.8% of the problems out there. If we were able to come from it, it's not that it's like a one size fits all. It's a fact that it's not a one size fits all. Like that actually makes it work. And so that's the space. That's the feel I get from you right now, Anthony, when we're talking about this. Right? So let's see
We're,
here.
we're, we're in a flow. We're in a flow here.
Yeah.
I'm very much feeling it. I'm just gonna take a moment to just like appreciate that we are in a flow. And I don't know if you ever tire of just going so deep and then coming back out to real life and ordering a hamburger 2 hours later, and then going so deep again with another person that you're really digging into. But it's appreciated, and I'm sure you have heard it in ways, but this is not the level that most human beings feel comfortable going into even once every 6 months. And here you are, going in your own way to be an outlier, and saying, I want to like support this community and grow this energy in the world, and support these people like me who come to your doorstep and say, what what are we going to build here? But I appreciate it, Ashe.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you. Like we're at the top of the hour. We're gonna wrap up from here. But like let's stay in flow. This is the beginning of something here, and I think that the biggest things for me here, like I'm going to keep going. Like the quest that I would give you at the end of this year is like, how do we just make this real? Just like it's wanted, it's here. You're doing things around it already. It's like I'm listening to this. I'm like, Anthony, is it just that like we just need to ask him and say, hey, do you want to do more of this? Do you want to meet on a regular basis? Like there's something that feels like a small like in terms of the actual strategy, actions, and all that stuff there. I feel like it's not a, you're already in the pool. It's like you're already in the water, and it's like it's time to surf. You have a surfboard, you're in the water, you're not on the beach, you're not reading that at home, like you're in the water. I'm like, so how do we just get you to stand on the board and like ride the waves as they come through? Like this does not feel like it feels like we're
Look,
closer now.
I'm a tall brother, and so I'm in the shallow end right now where there's no I got little floaties on my arms
Okay.
just in case, but I am ready to swim over to the deep end where I know I might
Yeah.
have to tread water for a
Yeah.
little bit. And let me just make your hour of time really concretely worth it. Here's what you have crystallized for me that I need to do. I need to go to a few people that are in that one of five that I know have supported my work, including some people of real high leadership. And I need to ask them very specifically if they're interested, yes, in potential of the Strength-Based Medicine Institute. But I also have to ask them strategically, does this work better in your mind? Given that this is an outlier idea, does this work better in its own free flowing, business LLC movement as medicine space? Or do you feel strongly that for the buy in and the chance to make it 2 out of 5 that now get this 10 years from now, does it really need to be based in an academic institution? Is that cred, the street cred for the crowd that I'm trying to reach, which isn't 100% people working in universities, but that is where we educate the future doctors and nurses and healers of the world in Western medicine stuff. So that's crystallized for me, and I have 1 to 2 people immediately that Monday morning. I think I'm not. I think I'm going to send an email, start the conversation, and I just need to now that the words are out there and they're in the ethos, I need to start with that and do a little just collection. Here's some other people's thoughts on where and people that I know are coming at it from a place of um, supporting me and at the very least like wanting will give me some honest opinion, though not supporting in the sense of like
Yep.
just to say this is great, but really like, yeah, is this pros and cons within an academic institution supported in that way versus the freedom and the sort of more entrepreneurial air of it being something that's completely outside of the off the grid, so to speak.
All right, awesome, Anthony. I'm hearing you here. Like, look, my general sense as we're talking here today, my general sense here is this. One, your brand is really strong already. Like when you said earlier that you're like, well, if I bring this out to like 8 out of 10 people wouldn't get it. I'm like, yeah, but like I'm sure all out of 10 of them, if you're in a room with 10 people who know you, all of them are like, Anthony, this makes perfect sense given everything you're saying. It's not what I know, but it makes perfect sense. So there's some element here of like of of just removing the flow of the barriers on it. I'm interested in what the conversations with the people that you have on with that question you have institution versus entrepreneur, sorry, education based or academia versus like the true freedom part of it here. I'm more interested in what you believe in on this one here because like my general sense is like you're the one that has to carry this over the finish line. Like every single step is with you. So like what gives you the room and the space to be able to bring this out to life in the way that like, it really truly deserves. And that honors you. Like that's a question that plays out. We're gonna leave it here, Anthony. We're gonna leave it right here.
You just brought that full circle like a rapper on the 16th bar, bro. That's beautiful.
I'm tracking all the way through. I'm tracking.
That
Outliers.
honors me. That
Yeah,
honors
that's
me. Oh yeah, beautiful. And I hear you. I'm not deflecting.
yeah.
I'm really trying to be to hear everything. I'm gonna go back through this podcast myself and hear these words again. I just appreciate it. let's continue and count me in for any way I can support the Outlier podcast and community from here
Okay.
on.
All right, we'll talk about that. All right. Outliers, until the next time we talk, journey on.